Hey, General Mars here. Help you get you started with your Streamlabs OBS setup. There's three major streaming programs: Streamlabs OBS, OBS, and XSplit. OBS was an open source project that Streamlabs then picked up. They added to it and they made their own. This video is going to be focused on the Streamlabs OBS version. Right here, you just see general display capture. I'm going to be pulling over the program here, and we're going to walk through it step by step. So first thing is we need to identify settings tab, which is easy. It's the bottom left corner here. Click on the cog, we open up the settings. This is going to look a little awkward because we're using display capture. For sakes of arguments, it's the easiest way to do it. So when you see this sidebar over here, it's got quite a few options to choose from, some of which don't matter at all to you, especially when you're starting out, and some that do. We're going to start with the first one though, and that is the stream one. Most of you are going to be interested in streaming to Twitch, but if you are just starting out streaming, enabling multi-stream is probably something that you're going to want to do. Stream to Twitch, stream to YouTube, stream to Mixer, whatever. There's other videos out there that discuss that, and I highly recommend it, especially if you're not affiliated and you don't have to abide by the exclusivity agreement yet. Next is output. Now there's two options here. You have simple and advanced. Once you start recording or go live, you can't adjust it anymore. I generally leave it on simple just because I've tweaked with the settings a lot. And some people have different preferences, but for the most part, you're probably going to leave them on simple. Now, when you start Streamlabs OBS for the first time, it'll say to you, do you want us to optimize the stream for you? And generally, it optimizes the stream for 720p 60, skipping ahead a little bit here, which has to do with your base resolution, your output resolution, and your FPS values. Now, that goes hand in hand with your output mode though, okay? You have to have enough bitrate to support the video that you want to do. So let's say you want to stream at 1080p 60. Well, you need to have like 5500 or 6000 bitrate to really support the throughput of that level of quality of image. You also have to have the hardware to do it too. All of these things are factors. So if you have like a high-end system, which like I have a Ryzen and a 1080 Ti, I have a more of a higher end system. If you have, let's say, a GTX 960 and Core i3 from 2015, let's say you're probably a little behind, and you might want to make sure you temper your settings appropriately. And so maybe your bitrate is 3000 and you do video at 1080p 30. Okay, cool. Let's go through that. Let's do an example. Let's say that you have bandwidth available for 4000 bitrate of 1080p 30, which is, I would say, for the most part, very general, straightforward settings. 3500, 4000 is probably what most people, especially just starting out, are going to do. Now, there are videos out there that talk about how to do bitrate and how you determine what your bitrate should be. And a lot of them are good, and some of them are not. And what you need to do is you need to go to this website, testmy.net. Do not go to speedtest.net. Speedtest.net hooks up with your ISP and shows you your potential bandwidth. That's what you pay for. But what you actually get and what you pay for often are contradictory. So you go to TestMy, okay, and do the automatic speed test. If you want to go quicker though, what you actually care about from the speed test is your upload speed test. This right here, your bitrate, is determined by your upload speed. Your download speed has an impact, but the bitrate here is coming directly from your upload capabilities. So if your upload is only, let's say 5 Mbps, remember you need to divide that number by 8 when it has to do with megabytes. There's megabits per second, there's megabytes per second. They're not the same thing. The bitrate here has to do with Mbps, and so you match it appropriately, whereas if you get the result in MB/S, you have to divide that number by 8. Okay, so if you have a 5 megabyte per second bit rate, you divide that by 8, you're in good shape. You're fine. But let's say you have 2 megabyte per second bit rate. Yeah, it's starting to get a little fishy there. You maybe aren't able to stream at all. Maybe you have to stream on very tweaked settings. So it's going to be personal for everybody. The point is that you need to make sure that you have enough bitrate and throughput available to do what you want to do. Okay. Now, as you see here, mine's at 6,000. I use hardware NVENC because I have a 1080 Ti. If you have a 1070 through any of the 2060, 70, 80 Ti, any of those NVIDIA cards, use the hardware NVENC. It works so incredibly well most of the time. Yeah, it's a no-brainer. Just use it. Just do it. It's great. And if you are in a 1080p 60, you're probably going to want a bit rate of at least 5,500 to go with. Okay. So next is audio. Most people, honestly, I say most people, I don't think there's probably any streamers that screw with this. Okay. The sample rate, the channels, whatever. Where this comes into play and what you see here, you see these disabled. This is actually not going to be what yours looks like. The reason this is disabled is because I have a Go XLR Mini, and the only way it works is to disable the audio device and put everything through the mic device. Okay, you're going to have one desktop audio device and one mic device. This is your gaming headset right here in the mic auxiliary device, and your desktop audio is your game audio, your Spotify, all that comes through as one source, but you're able to adjust it completely. So in this regard, this is where you see the differences come through, and you can add more devices as you wish. As I alluded to earlier, you have let me get rid of this. You have your base canvas resolution. So in my case, my monitor is a 1440p monitor, so that's the base canvas resolution is 1440p. The output scaled resolution is what you're streaming to. So my 1440p is downscaled to 1080p 60. Okay. Now you have to choose all these things before you go live, record, or live stream. Downscale filter you can leave default. It's no big deal. Hotkeys are something that I would skip, especially if you're a beginner, but they can be very useful if especially if you are only a one monitor user and you're trying to make your stream snappy and work appropriately as you'd like to do. As you can see, there's a whole bunch of options that you can assign to hotkeys, and actually I need to get rid of that. And you can see all these sources that come up. Like I have all these sources, and it's like here you can put a hotkey for everything. This list goes on and on and on for 26 days here because I have 26 million sources. Moving onward though. The next is advanced. So for some people, they run into some issues and they have to put process priority above normal, which is really not recommended. And I think even Streamlabs tells you that that's not recommended. But if you need to, and you go from there. But for most people, you're gonna leave this as normal. You're not gonna touch the video. You can leave that as default. The audio monitoring device, you may adjust based upon if you're having a mismatch, like so you have your default as a sound card, for example, and it's not picking up the audio coming through your sound card. So just go through and select it manually and you'll be good to go. Okay. This has to do with how the naming is for recording, not something to worry about. Stream delay, you're probably going to want to turn this off unless you're playing a game which you're worried about stream snipers, and unless you're a big streamer, you don't really have to worry about stream snipers most of the time, so you're probably going to want to disable this because you get a more personal experience with your chat with that turned off. So definitely recommend not enabling stream delay unless you really have to. Automatic reconnect is great unless you have a really, especially if you have a really inconsistent connection. I would make sure you have that enabled for sure. The in-game overlay is an interesting thing that Streamlabs has added that, unless OBS has changed, did not have, and is really useful for, again, a single monitor setup because you turn this on, And then it's like you can show your chat, your recent events, you can show where you want to put it and everything. I have multiple monitors. This isn't something I use, but it definitely can be very useful and definitely helps with people who are on a single monitor setup. You can skip scenes, collections. This has to do with your notifications, which are these things down here. You click this little eye. Your notifications go into there. I recommend turning them on. I personally, these are my personal settings, which are, I think, very similar to the default settings. Basically, you're occasionally going to have skip frames. You're occasionally going to have lagged and drop frames for circumstances outside of your control. But you don't want it happening frequently. It should be a one-off type thing that happens for only a little bit of time and then is gone. Okay, so I say 10% is like where you start having the alarm bells kind of go off, and everything. This will start to turn red, and you'll see down here in the bar, it'll be kind of like sending you warnings and stuff, and you can see that. Like, so you have this down here tells you everything that's going on, your whole live stats. You have your CPU usage. This shows you if your frame rate is holding at the same point that it should be, your dropped frames, which has to do with basically when you get like a really artifacted image and the image is just not coming through clearly, and your bandwidth info. So I said my bandwidth was 6,000, but let's say only 4,000 is going through. Well, that's bad, because that means that I'm not transmitting everything more than likely the quality of my stream has gone down when that has happened. So that's important. I need to know that. Appearance. This is the first thing you do when you install Streamlabs. You go to Appearance, you select Theme, and you get Off Day Theme. Let's look at Obsidian Prime. Okay, that's pretty cool. Alabama. Oh God, no. Hell no. Hell no. Hell no. I'm just so used to the night that the dark green is just, it's really just nice on the eyes. This is something that I think a lot of people miss, which is turning on the BTTV emotes and the Franker Faces emotes for Twitch. So when you start your stream, your chat starts docked wherever you choose it in Streamlabs OBS. So if you choose chat as a source in your stream, it will not show the Franker Faces or BTTV emotes unless you have these boxes checked off. So make sure you check them off, especially if you're gonna have the chat as a source on your stream. Face masks are a Streamlabs option that you have. It's super easy to set up. All you have to do is just select your video input device from the drop-down menu, click the slider to on, choose the duration you want, and the other settings. So you can test it, and I'll show you right here with myself. Let's drag me off here. There I am. And now I'm an astronaut. And I have a gas mask. Very calculated. Big brain. Right? Very cool. Fun stuff. Bye-bye. I skipped to this. This is something that you can adjust if you need to, like the confirming stream title and game before going live. I've turned that off before. Honestly, just turn it on. Leave it on. It's a lot easier that way. You don't have to keep going back and forth between the dashboard, Twitch dashboard, and here and stuff. You just do it right through here and everything's all good to go. I do recommend turning off automatically starting replay buffer when streaming. Uncheck this. It wastes resources. I don't know if it still is the default. If it is, basically recommend turning off a lot of these things. As you can see, I don't use them. Alignment snapping has to do with in a given scene, in a given source, okay, which I didn't go over this. So let's go over this first. On the bottom left-hand side here, you have, these are called scenes. Within each scene, you have sources. See, webcam, that's a source. I click the eye to turn visibility on and off. Right now, this is display capture. It's on and now on. Easy, very simple, very straightforward stuff. Okay, but within this source, let's say I unlock and I move this around. Well, with snapping, if I have snapping on, see when I drag this all around, it's very free and I can do whatever I want. And see, it's a little off. If I want it a little off, it'll stay a little off. But if I turn snapping on, see how it kind of locks in place? That's snapping. Which, with bigger things like a full window issue, can be very convenient. But with minutia or smaller things, it can be very frustrating. So it's going to be in a case-by-case basis how much you want that on and how much you utilize it at all. So we went over face masks. The installed apps, that has to do, they're in the sidebar here. That's a Streamlabs feature. You have to have Streamlabs Prime or any of the other things with that. The remote control is going to, again, be personal for something you may or may not want. Once you make a source, like so this display capture, is now available for every single scene. You don't need to keep remaking sources. That is one of the nice things about this. You make the source once, it's there, and you're good to go, which is nice. It's very convenient. The last thing I need to go over is the mixer, audio mixer, which I talked about a little bit. Now, with the audio mixer, see, I click this and you see a list of audio things here. Now, I have a Go XLR Mini, so how things appear is a little different than they appear for you. So we talked about the audio devices. See, I'm disabled the desktop audio devices besides my broadcast stream mix. This is not how it'll look for you. For you, it'll look, you'll have another named device here, and that would be like your desktop audio device, and then your microphone device would be where your broadcast stream mix, and you'll have both of them on. And then you can adjust the volume up and down. The audio monitoring on and off means, like, if you put monitor and output on, if I do that right now, see how it tried to echo? It's because you could hear, I can hear the recording, you can, and everyone else can too, right? So that's what the monitor and output does. It means that the result is heard, plus the person creating the result hears it as well, which may not be the best way to explain that. But it's the fact. That's the truth. The mute output has to do with how it's shown, so to speak. You can assign tracks to it. You can do offsets and other adjustments, but if you're just starting out, just leave it the hell alone. The main thing you're going to do when adjusting things is just using this slider right here, just sliding it up and down. Now, when you get to this red part, that generally means you're kind of getting to the point where you might be hitting a little bit of clipping. But that's personal to each device. That's the easiest way to adjust your audio, especially with multiple sources, you know, with your microphone and your desktop, as opposed to just adjusting each source individually in your volume mixer, which I don't have to do anymore because I have a Go XLR Mini. But I used to do. You just take this slider, just slide this down a little bit, slide your mic up a little bit, add some gain or whatever. And that's something you do here. You'd hit, this cog is for this audio source. This cog is to open up the audio mixer for all devices. So this is this individual sources cog. Now you see filters here. When you click filters, you can add from a whole type of different filters, suppression, limiters, expanders, etc., a whole bunch of stuff that may or may not be useful to you. More than likely, you're going to need two filters. One is a noise gate and one is gain. Okay, gain is adding decibels to your volume, which can help get you louder if you need to be. The noise gate, though, is incredibly important. And the only way you can do it is to tweak it yourself. Noise gate makes it so you hear less clickety-clack, especially if you have a mechanical keyboard on stream. Now, the goal here is not to remove all clicking from your keyboard. The goal is, especially if you're streaming, to remove it when you're not talking. Okay, so if you remove mouse clicking when you're not talking, that's great. You're not gonna be talking 100% of the time. Say you're talking 70% of the time, okay? And when you're not talking, people wanna hear your music or the song request they've done or any other thing else besides your keyboard and your mouse. People do not wanna hear that nonstop, especially if it's a loud mechanical keyboard and mouse. So you have to adjust the close and open thresholds for that. And these things you can kind of, I would probably say that these are around the settings that you might find helpful. And the close and open thresholds are gonna be very personal. You have to either move this up or down both ways until you kind of find what you like. But highly recommend, if you're gonna spend a lot of time with something, this is one of the things you wanna spend a lot of time with for sure. You wanna get to the point where, for the most part, if you're not speaking, people can't hear your mouse and keyboard. You do that, it'll help a lot. Helps the viewability of your stream significantly. Otherwise, that's basically it for this. For this video, I finally have kind of narrowed down Streamlabs OBS videos that kind of walk you through step by step. I walk through step by step of each of the tabs and settings, how to set them up, how to check some things, and some things that may help you when troubleshooting and setting up your stream. Thank you for watching. Until next time.